Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 2 of Friday Morning Live, the arm wrestling show where I will go live, answer your questions. I know it's early, you guys, but I hope somebody's jumping on pretty soon here so we can have a conversation. Off the top, though, I share a Patreon page with Arm Crossfire. So maybe it's appropriate that I give a shout out to all the Patreon members that support Arm. Good morning, Dustin. Maybe it's appropriate that I give a shout out to all the Patreon members that support both that channel and this channel. So we have our Elite, which is the second highest level, Jordan Yoakum and Bernie Marcosia, and the Alpha members. We have Zane William Nisley, Jeff Frank, and Bruce Willis. So patreon.com/Mr. Espey. Dustin, feel free to ask me anything. Anyone else in the live stream? Let's get it going. The first thing, maybe some updates from myself. My schedule for the year has been greatly disrupted, as I'm sure everyone in the arm wrestling world and any sports can empathize with COVID-19 basically decimating the entire season. It was going to be national championships, a series of super matches, the Red Deer event. There was a whole bunch of stuff that I had planned for the year, kind of culminating in the IFA Worlds, which is coming up in September, and apparently it's still on. But I would be surprised if the world opened by then. The United States might be open for the tournament. The rest of the world may not be. So I was actually going to skip them all. I might still go to Worlds. Skip them all, and now that I see this graphic for what I presume is a vendetta happening in conjunction with Zloty Tour, which is kind of where I was going towards anyway, it might be a good opportunity to see some marquee matchups and compete at a high level. And I think that will be my focus, as long as I can have a conversation with my wife and we can agree on what that vacation is going to look like, going to Poland, and maybe see some sights while we're over there, provided that the world is back to normal by December. And it will be a good opportunity to prove my worth to Igor Mazarenko going forward, because he is throwing some serious money behind some of these events, and I want to get my piece of it. Of course, the Denis Saplenkov and Levon match is one of the biggest matches ever. Hopefully, well, if Denis has accepted the match, he must be on the mend. And man, let's see it. I hope Denis gets back to Super Denis, the version of the guy that pulled Devin Larratt, and we can see that match with Levon. Dustin, Manitoba Provincials this weekend was going to be my first. More time to prepare. Yeah, Dustin, that was this weekend. I forgot that it was this weekend. I did have it, the AGM scheduled in my phone to attend that. I'm not sure what's going to happen with any Manitoba arm wrestling going forward, other than the fact that the Nationals is pushed back one full year. And for the local Manitoba people, we have practices aren't on right now, but they were happening once a week in Winnipeg and every other week in Portage la Prairie. All right, you guys, we may have a guest jumping on the show. Let me just quickly send him the link, and we'll see if we can add him right into the stream when he is available. Bear with me, guys. In the meantime, send me some stuff. Dustin, is that you apologizing on Facebook for everyone waking up with your dogs? I open up Facebook, it's the first thing I see. So moving on from that. The Levon match with Dennis. Huge. Next up. Hopefully we can start the small groups again soon. I hope so. I am with the provincial announcements that things are starting to open up May 4th, and the announcement that more things in Manitoba, if everything goes smoothly, will start to open on June the 1st. I'm thinking mid-June for the first time Portage gets together for another arm wrestling practice. Although my training is such right now that I don't know how I'm going to fit table time back into it. There's going to need to be some adjustments because I'm doing arm wrestling training 5 days a week. So we'll see. Not my dogs, everyone else's dog barking at me. Gotcha. We're waiting for our guest. This exercise I'm about to show you is direct resistance side pressure, true 100 pounds. I'm going to turn the sound off to it. But as you can see, I'm showing you the weights. Leaning back up. And this is a benchmark. So if anyone wants to jump in here, and we'll see if we can get a bit of a challenge going. But it's direct side pressure, 100 true pounds, maybe a little more. I didn't count the pin on the Krasny pulley. And of course, we'll wrap a few things up here. I want to come down to Portage when it's back up. Anytime, you are welcome to come. Tomorrow on Arm Crossfire, Brian Kerner and Jeff Frank, and we are talking about promoting arm wrestling. Not only are we talking about, we're talking about all the aspects of promoting. So Gabi and I will be joined by those two gentlemen. And of course, Brian has been involved with many different events throughout the United States, including a lot of Travis's events. And Jeff, good morning, John Burke. Jeff Frank, of course, is the guy behind the Red Deer Charity Classic, which was primed to be the largest event in decades. Like, we had so much talent coming. There were so many super matches. It got to be really overwhelming. Just the level of how many matches there were, the amount of talent that was going to be there, the format of it. It would have been, Jeff would have needed to sleep for a week when he was all finished with that. And he was pulling in a match. So we had, it is now postponed. So the summer of 2020 is now going to be the summer of 2021. And we'll see what happens. IFA, man, I just don't know. I just don't know if Disney World's going to be open. But here's the good news. Florida is opening up a lot of different things. We have a UFC happening this weekend. They declared the world WWE. They've declared a essential service. So they are going to continue. And ladies and gentlemen, Uncle Jon has joined the show part way in. I figured, hey, what the hell? I'll throw a guest in there.
Yeah, what's up, buddy?
What are you doing?
Not too much. It's just out in the North Woods here.
Doing some trapping.
Said, hey, might as well jump on.
Jump on.
Yep.
And Dustin says, morning, John. Dustin, I don't know how to pronounce your last name, Justin. Dustin.
It's one of those. It's got to be one of those East Coast names, like McGeggy and Giggy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, one of those. So what do you got going on? What are you up to? Give us an update on the Uncle Jon's Arm Wrestling Show channel.
So Uncle Jon's Arm Wrestling Show. We had a big week this week. We had some success because we got you on for arm wrestling live training. So that was a good success. That was fun. We did some After Dark. I'm not sure what I'm doing today as far as my video goes, but training is just smashing through right now. Like I've never had the opportunity or the willpower to train quite so much. And it's just I can tell it's just going up. Everything's going up. Power's going up. My wrist feels good for the first time in like 2 years. So
Let me ask you something. Do you train side pressure?
I do train side pressure 1 day a week.
Do you train direct side pressure?
Kind of. I train side pressure in such a way that it's side pressure, but that it doesn't hurt because I'm too wimpy. I just, my side pressure has never been like my best thing, obviously. And I'm really taking my time to rebuild everything going on in here, you know? In 2015, when I went to the WAL, because they had those big qualifiers in Vegas.
Yes.
So there, left-handed, I ended up snapping off a piece of bone from down here, right? So the tendon that was connecting here, I think it was from my tricep to connect down here, it actually pulled off a piece of bone. And that was the end of me for a while. So I really don't want to, put myself in a situation where that ends up happening again. So we're going slow. We're going easy.
I was showing everyone this particular clip right here. And geez, I'm trying to get it so you can actually see it. That might be the best we can do.
If you hide our faces, then it will become bigger.
Yes, yes. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I couldn't hear you when our faces were down, but I can hear you now.
No worries. So I'm just kind of throwing it out there. So that was perfectly directly to the side.
Right.
Starting off at 100 pounds true. So I'm going to see if anyone is going to start posting videos like that. I don't, I do watch a little bit of, when I say a little bit, like I mean a very little bit of other people's training. I like short, concise training clips. Like I don't want to watch 25 minutes
right
of warming up to get to the meat and potatoes, right? And
right.
If I don't have a timestamp on there, I'm probably not going to watch the video. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and when it's a true side pressure, it's not kind of in behind it, pressing it down a little bit.
Right. Okay. So that's what you mean from the angled position, because that's the way I do it too, where I avoid this as much as possible. Yeah. Right. And I use the Mazarenko roller with the strap that goes around the back of the wrist. And I do it from that similar angle. I actually just did it yesterday. I think I'm at like, I'm taking the Devon route right now, and I'm doing a lot of sets of 10. And I think I was doing like 75-ish, 80 pounds true for like 10, but pretty sloppy. So it's not, I don't have a mastery of the weight, and I don't have a mastery of the movement yet either. Because I think that's something that people don't necessarily talk about a lot, is that you do need to learn the movement itself in order to be effective with it.
That's one of the things Dustin is asking. I have yet to do a lot of side pressures. I'm new. Any suggestions on conditioning the elbow? Well, if you watch the whole workout I did, it starts off with very high reps, but the weight's directly in front of me. So I'm doing more of a static than a dynamic, but it's
Mhm.
putting pressure on my inner elbow until I lead up to. So I'm 6 full working sets in before I get to anything that is single repetitions. But
Right. So you have
Dustin,
a big
high
lead up.
reps. Yeah.
Nice. That's probably something I need to do a little bit more of, because
So
I have like my 3 working sets, and I'm probably only doing 2 sets before that. So maybe it's an issue of my, part of my problem is just that I'm not getting my elbow to a point where it's ready to really go fully.
yes. And then if you were to do um, the Ryan Bowen style, where he was training like Todd Hutchings,
Hmm.
he's doing kind of a behind it kind of press from a negative position. He doesn't arm wrestle that way.
Right.
So it
And
doesn't matter how much stronger he gets. He can't get to the, it's like he's walking on one road and there's another road right beside him that he
right,
can't quite put his foot on,
the
right?
barrier
Yeah,
in the way.
he can't get to the path that would make that effective in his particular style of arm wrestling match. So Dustin says, um, so would it be okay to do high reps for a week or 2 before trying anything heavy? Dustin, if you're new, do high reps for a couple of months and just get your tendons conditioned to that kind of
Mm.
movement.
It's interesting. I'm actually getting quite a few questions, like privately, about what, because there's new people still coming into the sport, but they literally can't do the sport right now. And
Yeah,
I'm always telling them, I'm like, look, take this time to watch and learn as much as you can. And whatever you're doing, just do it light. Do it light. Please do not, if you've never been on an arm wrestling table, do not start the Todd Hutchings program on day one, because it's probably not going to work out too well for you.
right. And it's an ugly, ugly style that will not, like, unless you are gifted, you will not last very long trying to pull
No,
that way.
no,
Um,
I'm not lasting very long, and I've been doing it for a long time. I mean, it hurts. It hurts.
well, my old mentor, Miles Wilco, have you ever met him?
I have not met him. I definitely know the name.
He is, he's an interesting guy. And if you've met him, you remember him. So Engen Terzi knows who Miles Wilco is, right?
Uh-huh.
Uh, John Berzink knows who Miles Wilco is.
Gotcha.
He was at Over the Top, and maybe After Dark, I can tell you some good stories about him. But if
Yeah. Yeah.
he used to really pound it into my head, like the reason I top roll and the reason I believe that I'm quicker than most super heavyweights is because he taught me to arm wrestle like a little guy. So he's like all tops, all hand control,
Right.
don't
Right.
be diving into the hook. He says the guys that are big time hook pullers and getting there and getting lots of grinders are not long for the sport. And
He's definitely not wrong.
all the things he has said has proved to be true aside from a few outliers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he also said, give it a year. He goes, you're going to do shitty for a year.
Yeah.
He was right.
Well, at least. Speaking of Engen, did you see his video he put out on Pronation the other day?
I haven't watched it yet.
It's interesting.
Engen is extremely smart when it comes to training. And remember when we talked about the board? Well, that was all influenced by Engen in the 90s.
Right.
And he first jumped on the scene when I recognized him, and I think he was a standout in the United States, as Engen came over here.
Mm-hmm.
And Miles had this idea that he was going to go to all these smaller pro events around like North Dakota, South Dakota, and he was going to do the tour, pull all these classes, and he was going to come home with all this money. Well, Engen had the same idea, and he came over here and he did that tour, and Miles came home with all the second place money.
Oh man!
Like even Engen was winning the super heavyweight classes. Like you seem, yeah, it's nuts.
Wild.
Yeah.
That guy.
And he looks like so small back then. Like he
Yeah.
came over and just killed everybody.
Oh, that's great. But yeah, definitely watch that video. It's given me a little bit of some thoughts about how I've been doing pronation. And he's just got a few little keys in there. He has like all these different weird tools that he uses and everything. But it's given me some time to maybe reorient my mind around what I'm doing. Similarly, so when I've done pronation in the past, it's like a full rotation. And Engen's like, no. Start here, go here, right?
My philosophy as well.
Right. So, and I've kind of thought back and forth about that. And then he offered up a few different things that you can do to really hyper focus on the pronation. So you're really doing your pronation instead of using like your back pressure when you're doing those types of lifts. So cool. Russian uncle.
Here's something you may not have figured out yet. When I logged on to Be Live this morning,
yeah,
there is now a feature where I can be playing a YouTube video from YouTube.
No way.
In the corner of my screen, where I don't have to download it or steal it or anything like that.
What?
I can actually play the YouTube video. So maybe next week we will do on this show, I will put on Engen's video for pronation.
That would be awesome.
And I will give my thoughts and opinions as we go through it. That being said, could you hear me talking when I was off the screen?
No, I could not.
Then.
Yeah, that's one more. That would be nice if we could do that.
So it'll just be split screen. It'll be over here. But
you know, not to just outdo myself, but I do also have the Zubas on this morning as well.
Well, that's good.
We got to have a full ensemble.
You have the fur hat, the Zubas. What do you got? Is that a KISS t-shirt?
Kiss Destroyer.
and the DeLorean is parked in the driveway.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. That's what I roll.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect. And I am coincidentally wearing my Minnesota arm wrestling t-shirt.
The Dave, is that the Dave shirt?
That's the Dave shirt with the hand on the back. And I used to work at an AFM or an Addictions Foundation residential program for kids, and they never believed me that somebody's hand was that big until I had to show them the video.
Right, right.
Dustin said it's been 6 to 7 months, and I just haven't wanted to try side, slowly working up, just worried to do it too much, too fast. Looks like I had the right idea. You did have the right idea. I have gone for years without training side pressure.
Yeah, I never trained side pressure up until 2 years ago.
Because I thought my pronation was so good that I could just control everything with my hand and wrist. And just by virtue of pulling back and stretching guys out, I could get the pin. And most of the time I was right. However, times they are changing, and people are starting to get better in all aspects. So you need to have alternative paths.
No doubt. Yeah. No, I think in the last 3 years, arm wrestling has like doubled in its complexity, or its overt complexity, the stuff that you have to think about, just with more people being online, more people putting information out there. I mean, there was a time where there was still arm wrestling and there was no computers, right? And it's like, how do you get the information? And that's kind of how it was when I started, but now it's just out of control. So now it's not a problem of finding the information. It's a problem of finding the information and then applying it appropriately to yourself and your skills and the way that you like to pull.
Yes. You up for one more question here, John?
Absolutely.
Opinion on incline bench presses and overhead presses for carryover to side pressure. My favorites to help save my elbows. Want to tackle that one?
Sure. I will. I can say something about overhead presses. I haven't benched in a long time, a long time. I do push-ups just to try to keep things put together here. But I have also started overhead presses recently, but I didn't really have any idea about, oh, this is going to help my side pressure. I just said my body is weak in certain areas that I'm neglecting. And so I wanted to tighten everything, across here up. And that's why I started doing them. But I'm enjoying them. And it was clear that I had no strength there at first. And in the last month, it's coming along quite nicely.
I don't know if they have a direct carryover to side pressure, but I will tell you, I am excited to see what happens personally with myself on the arm wrestling table, because the one body part always got neglected and was sore. It was my shoulders. But I have been doing a lot of direct shoulder training, and I got a Viking press from Arm Assassin Strength Shop.
Can you give me a brief explanation of what that is again?
It's basically an apparatus where you have basically a fulcrum at the other end, and the weight comes out and it's pressing overhead.
Oh, sure.
Like this, but it's an apparatus that it was made famous by. There were strongman competitions that would have the Viking press.
Right.
You get under it and do the push presses, but it's set up that there's a pin that goes across my rack in the gym. The Olympic bar goes into one end, almost like a landmine on one end, comes across, and then there's a handle that bolts on to it's shaped like a U, and then it comes across, and it's made for me, custom dimensions, so it's perfect width, and I love it.
Sweet.
And we'll see what happens. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, shoulders have been an issue for me too, because we as arm wrestlers, I think we just naturally neglect the things that are not obviously a part of the game.
Right.
And it also doesn't really, I don't get a lot of enjoyment out of training shoulders. You get a lot of enjoyment out of training this and training this. But I also in the last year, I'm spending a significantly larger amount of time just repping my shoulders and doing different types of shoulder exercises, because it's clear that those connectors are monstrously important.
Yeah. And that Viking press, that thing is, man, it's a game changer for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Do you think there's any benefit having small fingers or hand for any technique in arm wrestling? No, I don't.
I would not trade this in for any smaller hand. No way.
Unfortunately, you have the hand that you're dealt, no pun intended, but you have to adapt. I mean, I don't think there's any move that you could say, I wish I had a smaller hand. Like
right.
It doesn't exist.
You can certainly still excel.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have arm wrestlers who have small hands that are mega elite arm wrestlers. You just have to figure out what you do best and then make sure you do that best.
Yeah. Yeah. So unfortunately, the answer is no. But stop focusing on that and just focus on getting better with what you have.
There you go. Question for you.
Sure.
One of the other things that Engen was using was, I think it's a machine that Mazurenko actually sells, but it's just like you walk up to it, you grab onto the bar, and then you just rotate it that way. And it's attached to a stack. And it's just the only movement you do with the entire machine is just the pronation. And it's just like a thick grip, and you just rotate it.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
It looks super interesting, but that is a lot of real estate inside your gym to take
exactly what I thought.
For something that you can do with a towel over your neck.
So last night I tried to replicate it just with the strap, and I wrapped the strap around and just coming straight sideways from my cable machine, and it worked pretty well.
Yeah, I do enjoy, the top roller. You remember the top roller?
With the gear thing or the
chain that wraps around it?
Yeah.
I can see the benefit to keeping that in a plane of movement that isn't like all wobbly and all over.
Right.
But that would be an alternative to that, is just a floor plate loaded. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't feel, whenever I'm doing that heavy, I never feel like my wrist can't do the movement. it's always my bottom fingers that let go.
Right.
So
Out on it. Yeah.
That might be one where I would actually encourage a smaller grip instead of a big thick one. You want it to focus on what you wanted to focus on. It's like if you're doing a lat pull down, but you can't hold the weight. That would be a scenario where you might use something to assist your grip.
Right. Bigger, not always better.
That's right. And the exercise is meant for a certain thing, so let's make it do that certain thing. But holy cow, an entire weight stack and plate loaded machine for that movement.
And I think the one he had, it was like, it looked like an arm wrestling table on top, kind of. And I think it had one on each side, so you can have two people doing the same pronation exercise on each side. I was just like, man, Turkey is a different place for arm wrestling.
Yeah, and you know what? I loved it there. Like it was.
Yeah.
I was there in 2018. It's an amazing place. There are some things that are just a little bit different. Like for example, when I was leaving or getting ready to leave, walking through the hotel lobby, there's just a dead guy laying in there. Like he's got a sheet over him. Like it was an older gentleman that had passed away. Okay. And my dad and I walked by. No, and his wife is sitting there, like sitting with the body, waiting for, the ambulance or the coroner or whoever's coming. And I walked by with my father, and I said, "Did you not see the dead guy just laying there?" He's like, "Oh, I didn't even notice." Because if that were to happen here, they'd be like, "Okay, stay back, crowd control."
Oh yeah.
Everyone just went about their business like it was par for the course. Another day at the office.
Wow, that's interesting.
They came in, they got him, and they took him away, and that was that.
Nice. Well, I don't know if you want to keep talking, but
sure.
So apparently we have confirmation that Saplinkov has taken on Saganashvili in December.
Yeah, I was actually chatting about that earlier before you got on here, but that there's going to be some big questions about the shape of Dennis. Now, if Dennis shows up as the Dennis that pulled Devin, it's an interesting match.
For sure.
And it might be one that he can win. But if it's like a smaller, healthier, vegan version of Dennis.
Yeah, that might be trouble.
Then Levon could crush him. But the recent photos I've seen of Levon, I mean, let's be honest. He looks like he doesn't look to me like he's not in fighting shape right now.
Right. I'm sure he had a big, after top 8, because I'm sure he was doing what he needed to do, whatever that is, for a very long time throughout the whole top 8 experience. Yeah. And I'm sure he said, okay, let's take a little break, let everything heal up, and get some of that stuff out of the system. And then I'm sure he'll be back to it now that he knows the date of the next big thing for him.
Yes. And he looked like the WAF Levon. So, man, some of us are staying bed already. I don't know what my weight's at, but it's going down. And I feel good.
So, sorry to ask you all these questions. I have questions for you now. So we know about 601. The last WAL match you had was against Jerry.
Yeah, it's over a year ago now.
Over a year ago. Is there, anyone you have an inkling that you might go against or would like to go against?
Might go against? I have no idea.
Okay.
WAL has not indicated. They have indicated that they would like me to be involved. They have not mentioned anyone.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to go, I want to go big. So give me Gennady.
Right.
Give me Gennady right-handed, and let's see what happens. Let's spoil the party.
Mm-hmm.
I guess
the other one is Devin left-handed, right? Like Devin left-handed.
Well, I actually did a training video where I called out 3 guys, and it was Gennady,
Yeah.
it was Kurdecha, and it was Devin Larratt left-handed.
Nice.
So Devin is obviously elite. So on the right hand, he's in a title shot.
Right.
You're not going to call out Devin Larratt and get a right-handed match.
No, you got to climb. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to climb. So left-handed though, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I'd also pull Wagner because they're keeping Wagner around. Like he's a big social media presence for them, and they post his stuff, and he doesn't pull right-handed.
Right.
So if you want to give Wagner a second loss, give me a call.
Well, I love that match. I love it. I see that guy. He just posts on Instagram, and he's like flinging around like 150-pound dumbbells.
There's a lot of front raises with his shoulders, like the bushwhackers.
That's exactly what it was. Oh, that guy, just outstanding. Outstanding personality-wise. Very funny.
Dustin didn't see the video with Michael Todd attempting the match Levan. I will watch it in the arm curls.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't see that one yet either.
Yeah, there's so much arm wrestling content that I can't keep up, and I need to. I have 3 podcasts that I listen to, and I have to listen to them every week. And some of them are 3 hours long. Like Joe Rogan is 3 hours long, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Chael Sonnen is 45 minutes twice a week, and then the Glorious House of Gains podcast is. But what do you think of Jon in the top 8? Is he going to win? He can.
Jon, it's so up in the air now because at first it was like, here's Jon. He's going back into top 8. Cool. Is he going to be ready? Well, is he going to have enough time? Is he going to be healthy enough? And those questions were slowly being answered, right? He looked like he was getting in better shape. He got to a certain type of weight. He was, definitely being more active. But now he's got another year, right? So I guess it really depends on how bad he wants the, what is it, $50,000? Is that the prize for this one?
Yeah, it's not just 50,000. Like it sounds like 50,000 is the prize at the end.
But you're getting paid for each thing you do.
For each thing, and if you get into the top 8, you're getting paid to arm wrestle for a year.
Right.
It's a big deal to get in there, and that's why I want to go to Zloty this year. I want to be in the mix
and get in for next year, man. That would be really good. So I guess the short answer and the unsatisfying answer is, can he win? Yes. Will he win? I don't know. I'll probably have a better idea in December.
I don't know, man. Like he is the old lion, and we'll see.
Mm-hmm. I mean, for him, it's like it's that shoulder. That's the thing that I hear him talking about most is the shoulder injury. And then obviously another year is another year older as well.
Yeah.
So everything does become a bit more complicated that way, I suppose.
But in the United States of America, if you're willing to pay for it, there are things that can help you along and restore some vigor of youth.
Right. Yes.
Everything from stem cells to quality of life prescriptions for growth hormone and testosterone. But
yeah, I would say if he's going to win, he probably needs to look into all those good types of things because you can't tell me that most of the other guys aren't in the same boat, doing all the same stuff. I mean, this is the top 8, right? I wouldn't, I don't ethically and morally, whatever, it's the top 8, right? If you want to see the monsters, then that's where we go to see them, I guess.
That's right. I agree. Well, buddy, let's wrap her up, and maybe we can get together on After Dark. And
yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah,
for sure.
Live chat. Thank you guys for coming in. We appreciate you. All right, Uncle Jon. We'll see you soon.
Take it easy, buddy.